the power to heal your broken heart. It's the power. Yeah, God's power. So don't hold back, no, don't hold still. 'Cause God is here and He is real. Take 4 steps to the left, to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn it around and move to the right. 1, 2, 3. Now take tiny little jumps forward to the front. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 jumps back, but you better look back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now freeze. And everybody clap your hands. Now stop. I feel it in the air right now. It's all around, I see it everywhere. It's the power. Yeah, yeah, God's power. It's the power to move any star. It's the power to heal your broken heart. It's the power. Yeah, God's power. So don't hold back, no, don't hold still. God is here and He is real. Take 4 steps to the left, to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn it around and move to the right. 1, 2, 3. Now take tiny little jumps forward to the front. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 jumps back, but you better look back. Let's do it all again right now. Take 4 steps to the left, to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn it around and move to the right. 1, 2, 3. Now take tiny little jumps forward to the front. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 jumps back, but you better look back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now freeze. And everybody clap your hands. Now stop.
Hi, Real Life Kids.
We're excited to be with you for another week of Real Life Kids.
We don't have any funny dares this week, but we do have some funny jokes.
Well, I don't know about funny, but how about this one? What does a house wear?
I give up. What?
A dress.
Very funny.
Our story today is about Abraham. Do you remember about him from a few weeks ago? How he left his home to go to a place without even an address to guide him. He just had to trust God to get him to the right place.
Okay, so how about this one? Abraham probably took a lot of animals around with him, right? So how about an animal joke?
All right.
All right, if a cow doesn't produce milk, do you call it a milk dud or an utter failure?
Very nice.
The new theme we're starting this week is We Are Family, and we're going to take our first lesson from Abraham's family. But first, our big idea this week is we can trust God with our families.
Abraham had to trust God to take him where he was supposed to go with no address. But something we didn't talk about before was his family. Abraham's family was in danger. Let's read about him.
Our story today is from Genesis chapter 17 and 18, starting in verse 17, chapter 17, verse 16.
Then God said, I will bless your wife and give you a son from her. Yes, I will bless you richly, and she will become the mother of many nations. Kings will be among her descendants.
Wait, I just remembered another joke. Why do we dress babies in onesies?
Why?
Because they can't dress themselves.
All right, moving on. Then Abraham bowed down to the ground, but he laughed to himself in disbelief. How could I become a father at the age of 100, he wondered. Besides, Sarah is 90. How could she still have a baby?
Do you know anyone who's 90 or 100 years old? My great-grandma just celebrated her 100th birthday. And then 12 days later, she actually went home to be with Jesus. But when I picture my grandma Coco at 100 years or even at 90, it kind of makes me laugh to think about her finding out she was pregnant. It just doesn't seem right or possible, does it?
Now Sarah was listening to this conversation from the tent nearby. And since Abraham and Sarah were both very old, and Sarah was long past the age of having children, she laughed to herself. How could a worn-out woman like me have a baby?
Do you think you might have laughed? I think I would have. But God was serious, and he was faithful to keep his promise to them.
So Abraham was 100 years old, and his wife was almost that old, and they had no children. That means that when Abraham died, his family would end. That might sound sad to you, but at that time in history, it was devastating. It meant you and your ancestors would be forgotten. But God had different plans for Abraham. Let's keep reading. But God replied, Sarah, your wife, will bear you a son. You will name him Isaac, and I will confirm my everlasting promises with him and his descendants. Then the Lord did exactly what he had promised. Sarah became pregnant, and she gave a son to Abraham in his old age. It all happened at the time God had said it would, and Abraham named his son Isaac. Abraham was 100 years old at the time, and Sarah declared, God has brought me laughter. All who hear about this will laugh with me, for who would have dreamed that I would ever have a baby? Yet I have given Abraham a son in his old age.
Isn't that awesome? God changed Sarah's laugh of disbelief into laughter of joy. And I think Isaac's name was pretty spot on. Isaac actually means laughter in Hebrew.
Speaking of laughter, I have another joke.
Okay,
What do you call an alligator wearing a vest?
I don't know what.
An investigator.
Very nice. I have no idea how to transition from that, but let's talk about our new memory verse. It's Romans 8:28. It says, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose.
I love that verse because of the in all things part. In all things, God works for our good. We don't always get what we want, but we can trust that even when we don't, God is using the uncomfortable things in our lives for our good, just like Abraham.
If Abraham had had children when he was younger, it wouldn't be that much of a story. It probably wouldn't have made it in the Bible. But since he was getting old and he'd waited so long not getting what he wanted, Isaac was just that much more of a blessing. Let's pray.
Father, thank you for this time that we got to spend with you, learning about Abraham and Isaac from your word. Please help us to grow and love you as much as Abraham did and trust you to work for our good.
That's all for today. Thanks for joining us. Parents, don't forget to join the Real Life Parents on Facebook for great resources, events, and community.
Bye.